Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Double Bind. I am your host, Springle, and of course, as always, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. We have in-house today, it's a full house actually. We have co-host Boogs from TO. We got Twaz rejoining us back from New Jersey. And of course, we have Snead also from New Jersey. There's going to be a full roundhouse of discussions here. We're going to just go through some topics, some things that are happening in the culture right now. So we'll just jump right on.
Twaz talking. It's great to be here, Neil. It's great to be here back here. Great
What's up, Twaz?
I am good.
Welcome back. It's been a minute.
It has. It's great to be here, even though I'm physically on the West Coast. To have us all virtually come together in this space is really a true blessing. So thanks for having me once again.
I love that. Well, thank you for being up nice and early with us. Yeah. Let's just jump right into it. I know Boogs wanted to talk about a specific issue that's very, very important right now. Boogs, what was that?
I mean, I hate to start off the show with bad news or something that could be seen as depressing. It's not really seen as depressing. It actually is. Breonna Taylor, her case has been concluded, and it's just sad. We had this uprising, if you will, this movement, and we were coming together as people, especially Black people, and we were trying to make a change. And the outcome of the case is the very reason why we started to begin with. We did all of that work, and nothing has changed. I specifically want to talk about, though, from the angle of the Attorney General. So David Cameron,
Cool.
I mean, you said it. You ain't lie. He, to me, represents Black people that are in the system of oppression that are being used as pawns to further continue our oppression. I mean, obviously, I only learned about him when this case started, but I've seen him a few times. I've seen him do speeches, press, and most recently, I saw him speak at the RNC. So he is definitely a Trump surrogate. And even with the prosecutors that were selected to present the case to the grand jury, I mean, the prosecutor's position is they're supposed to set a narrative, paint a picture to the grand jury using the charges to lay the groundwork for facts that are undisputable. And knowing what we know, that Breonna Taylor was shot 6 times while sleeping, and the neighboring apartments, bullets went into those units as well. But the charges that are actually laid are for bullets that went into the adjoining units. Like, how does a case like this yield such unbelievable results?
Or such like charges in regards to what happened.
Well, the charges and then the results, and it's one mass ball of confusion, and it's so sad. And like, I don't know what your guys' thoughts on it are, but it's like, it's difficult for me to even talk about it anymore, because it's like, well, what is talking going to do? What is this whole illusion of let's have the conversation? Like, what is that really doing? What the needle is not being moved.
That's one of the terms I hate in regards to, I guess, race.
I loathe it.
Race relations. Let's have a conversation. How many conversations have we been having?
Yeah, like, what the
I don't get that. And I noticed that Detective Brett Hankison, he was charged with wanton endangerment for bullets. Yeah, so that's the heaviest charge that they could come up with. This young lady lost her life.
I think the conversation that I get everybody's frustration and astonishment, because I'm there too, but I think the conversation that needs to happen is the changing of these laws, because once you look into the case and look into the argument that the state uses, you realize that the laws protect these officers, these detectives, these sergeants. These warrants, these laws actually protect them. That's really the sad truth in this. That's the main fight to change these laws. So talking about it is important because then you realize that, wow, they can do this because they're protected by this through the state legislature. So I think the real conversation that to make change has to be to change these laws. And how you change these laws is you get some of these people out of power.
That's the main fight.
The Attorney General out of a job. He's Mitch McConnell's protege. Mitch McConnell handpicked him to be Attorney General. And not only that, but he got his whole college scholarship from the Mitchell McConnell Scholarship Fund. So Mitchell McConnell has been a part of placing him in power and grooming him to be where he is.
That is interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but it's that we've already had these conversations, though. We've already had these conversations about, getting these people out of their positions. But it's a good old boys club. Like you said, they're grooming their proteges, and they're next in lines. It's just an awful, dreadful rotation. And the world would have to implode for those laws to go away. That's just the reality of the situation. That's just what it is.
Well, a step has been made. Let's not be too fire and brimstone about this. Breonna's law is a real thing.
Steps have been made. We're still being killed, and the officers are still walking away. So what steps have been made?
Well, it's one step at a time. You got to do it one step at a time. And I think one of the main steps is Breonna's law.
We've been stepping for years. How many more steps do we have to take before we see change? I just want to ask that question.
Yeah, the whole judicial system needs to be rehauled. I mean, from the point. I think
changing that law is a big step. Because these warrants. We all know the war on drugs has already been racialized. This is another event of the war on drugs and how that plays out in Black communities. This whole war on drugs thing that gave them the right to go in there shooting up this place. Now, if you really want to hear my opinion on it, I believe. I know Neil thinks I'm this anti-conspiracy theorist or something, which is so incorrect. Because based on evidence I've heard and what the ex-boyfriend said, we all know where the circumstances of them knowing that was an old trap spot, and that gave them the legal warrant to do a raid. I believe the cops were looking for the stash.
I believe so, but they didn't find it.
They were looking for a box. They didn't find it. They were looking for a box of cash. They didn't find it.
Yeah, but what they ended up with was a dead body.
With a dead body, right. They was going up in there looking, they wanted some money.
And didn't the boyfriend get charged with something, if I recall correctly?
Correct. And it had to, if I'm not mistaken, it was dropped. One of them, it was 2 charges.
It was dropped.
One of them was dropped.
It was dropped.
If I'm not mistaken, he's also suing the police himself.
He's suing the police. Breonna's family got $12 million,
which was a stupid move to accept that before the end of the court case. Because to me, once you've accepted that money, you're telling the system itself, okay, we're good. And so it was easy to drop.
No, you got to hit this. One thing where you can hit the system is the pocketbook.
Yeah, but it's the taxpayers.
That's $12 million.
The real system would be the police unions and the insurance companies that insure the police districts. Those are the real people we need to hit. It's not because it's the taxpayers' money. It's not. Look at New York's budget for the police. If it's in the billions, and the amount of money being taken out of the education budget in New York, for example. Why do we need billions of dollars? Because of the multiple lawsuits that they anticipate.
Listen. You hit them at the money. You take the money. I'm not saying that's not. I'm not saying don't only take the money. But trust me, you hit their balance sheets.
I'm all for taking the money, but they should not have taken it. They should not have settled so soon. I think the outcome of this case with these cops being let off is directly, it correlates to the fact that this family settled before the case even went to court. You know what I mean? I think in some ways it allowed. I
don't think the cops getting off has anything to do with them. With the civil lawsuit. So? I think the laws are already set up to protect. There's already this gray area that's set up by the fact that, number one, the boyfriend shot back. The boyfriend fired the first shot and hit one of the cops. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're already in this legal limbo where a cop is fired upon. You know what I mean? And it's struck in the leg. He's shot. So now they're in battle mode, and they're in battle mode because they knocked on the wrong door, and this motherfucker is ready to go.
The cops are always in battle mode.
I was getting ready to say thank you so much. The cops, you can turn your back and walk slowly, and the cops are in battle mode.
Now, once you got shot, now you definitely in battle mode. Okay, so she got killed for something the boyfriend did to defend her. You know what I mean? So now we're in this complex kind of like tangled legal limbo, variable.
And it doesn't have to be so complex. That's
and I'm saying what gave them the right to be there, or the gumption to be, the audacity and legal authority to be there, was that warrant. These issues are systematic.
Yeah, which unfortunately stems from the ex-boyfriend's exploits. Because even the ex-boyfriend, they had him sign a plea deal. Allegedly, the ex-boyfriend was given a plea deal where if he threw her underneath the bus, he would get less of a sentence.
So is that why he couldn't testify in front of the grand jury?
All the drug activity that the police supposedly have seen coming in and out of that house is directly related to the ex-boyfriend, because we know for a fact he used her phone number as his contact number. He used her address to receive packages, allegedly drug packages. He wasn't even in that house when all of this went down, but all of a sudden now he's part of the case. You understand what I'm saying?
But then we got to even look into, even if he was, you know what I mean? Even if he was in the house, you know what I mean? Because we got to look into these laws. Because even if he was, would it be okay for cops to come banging down some guys with guns blazing? That's, we got to really look at these laws.
The whole system needs to be overhauled. Yeah.
But these are specifically war on drugs laws, war on drugs methods.
Yeah, but who does it affect disproportionately? That's us, and that's the big problem. Because the amount of meth labs that exist in the rural sides of Kentucky versus the more urban areas, the drugs that happen in the posh neighborhoods of the suburb, what kills me is we are always at the bottom of the barrel. We are always the ones more severely affected. And again, the classism issue that we talked about twice before when we talked about Flint. I've been arrested. I've seen how easy it is for a judge to just throw the book at you simply because you don't have the money to have your own personal lawyer represent you versus, state appointed lawyer, which is just a number, and you're just a number to them. Because you have certain states where we have non-Black people now gainfully employed, quote unquote, in the same herb, same plant, same drug. When I listen to these cases, it's hard for me not to compare them to other groups and other stories where other people get off and other people are allowed to kind of walk. The fact that the police are allowed to just encroach onto anyone's territory. They can lie. They can come up with any sort of excuse to either harm, maim, kill, or attack you. And they get off with impunity. To me, that in itself, like what you're saying, Twaz, that needs to be overhauled completely, because that shit is sickening.
And it's not just the war on drugs. It's not just drugs either that we were getting. Black people are being killed and shot down like dogs in the street, and cops getting away. They're getting shot from getting pulled over for a traffic violation, for walking down the street. It's not just a war on drugs topic. It is a massive topic.
The war on drugs has been a way to fund the police, number one, militarize the police, and also, number three, train the police. So if you have a police force that's trained to take down drug kingpins, that boots on the ground effect is going to affect a man walking down the street, okay, as a potential drug dealer. So all I'm saying is this war on drugs mentality, this war on drugs is the funding, is a part of the militarization. And the militarization affects the mindset and the training. Does that make sense to you?
I love the fact that you use the word mindset.
Because they're just trained like they're at war.
Yeah, but at the same time, look at
saying that mindset affects all other elements. That affects the traffic stop. He could have drugs. We have drugs, we got weapons. We're at war. And they're treating urban communities like they're occupying war zones.
Yeah, I wonder if they use that same mindset when they're going after white America in the war on drugs.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, because they can, all of a sudden, all that training to de-escalate kicks in. All of a sudden, the need to not harm this other person kicks in when it's usually when they're dealing with the white person.
There's conscious thought, there's consideration, there's all of these other rationalities that kick in and come into play when it comes to them.
When it's our neighborhoods, we could kick down the doors and just start firing crazily, again, to the point. This young lady died in her bed, but we're focusing on the person next door who is pregnant, that a bullet went through her wall.
Well, what I'm telling you is based on the law and the ramifications and parameters of the no-knock warrant, that apartment of Breonna's was basically in effects a war zone.
So let me see if I get this straight.
So anybody that gets killed in that area doesn't matter. Now that bullet went to another apartment. Oh, that apartment, that's not the war zone. Can't go in there. We're in trouble. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Oh well, collateral damage, right?
Based off of the way their laws are, it's framed upon a war on drugs, occupying force and territory. So what I'm trying to tell you, the logic of it is that's why that bullet goes to that other apartment they get in trouble for, because that apartment wasn't specified.
So war zones are basically decided upon units in the apartment complex. Is that what I'm hearing? So apartment A is a war zone. Apartment B not so much. Apartment C is okay. So so it's those are off limits, but we should only focus on apartment A.
Yeah, because essentially a cop shot a black woman, and the cops were charged for the shots that missed her.
They're innocent. They're not suspects in the other apartments. So a bullet going through there. Does anyone follow my logic? Now y'all messed up because no bullets can't go through the apartment because that's not the war zone right there.
Do we believe no knock warrant should be nixed completely?
Based on the analogy I'm using between warrants and for no-knock warrants, and yeah, you're basically giving a warrant for that to be a war zone. Yeah.
So you think it should be nixed, or you think it should be maintained? That's what I'm asking.
I think for drug cases, yeah. There's other situations where it's like, what if this is a terrorist? You know, we got a terrorist situation. So just
terrorists. we all know who the terrorists are in this country, because terrorists don't be flying from Iran to come all the way to the U.S. We know who those people are.
No, it could be a white supremacist terrorist. It could be any kind of terrorist, like a terrorist.
It could be a cop who is a terrorist in this case.
And clearly that's the definition that I'm carrying for terrorists these days. White cop, terrorist.
Coming from New York City, of course I've had the stop and frisk, that's happened here and there, but I recall like my interactions with the police went up exponentially once I purchased a car. Like I remember having a police officer come up to me and he pulls me over. This is the middle of the day, nothing crazy. And then he asked to see my license, registration, all that insurance, showed it to him. He comes over and he says, "Who's Snoopy?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Who's Snoopy?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I thought you said the car was yours." I said, "Yes, it's mine." He's like, "Oh, well, there's a name Snoopy here on the registration." So I just paused for a second. I looked him dead in his eye. I said, "Officer, whatever charge you want to give me, go right ahead and do it, please. Instead of wasting my time with some bullshit story about Snoopy." I said, "Who would have the name Snoopy on a legal document?" And he just paused. He went to his thing. I guess, of course, you know how it is. They're running your to see if you have any warrants or records. He comes back. He's almost upset that he has nothing to pin on me. He tells me, "I'm gonna let you go for now." I'm not making this up. So what I'm saying, the reason I'm using this story with what Snead was saying in terms of terrorism and terrorists, that key word is terror. When I was a child, I saw the police's help and people to turn to. As an adult, when I see those lights, in fact, the lights don't even have to be on. Once I see that badging on that vehicle, like I automatically go into a state of anxiety. Like it's a complete 180 from what I've been taught as a child.
And they know what to do to exasperate that anxiety, to try to agitate you so they can do something, so they can make a case, or they can hand you a charge. It's a very simple plan. They're aware of it. They know.
I don't want to make all the cops in one category because all cops aren't like that. And I think,
here comes Mr. All Lives Matter.
I'm not going there. I have family in law enforcement. I have friends in law enforcement. So we can't just, I don't think it's fair for us or for them for us to throw all law enforcement in one basket, because that's just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. But I think.
Well, I don't think it's fair to mark one apartment as a war zone for a drug community or whatever you want to call it, and people getting shot in their sleep. But, we want to talk about what's fair. Since we're talking about what's fair.
Sir, I'm talking about the law and just the facts. You know what I mean? And the facts is, if you have a warrant You know what I mean? That gave them the authority. I'm not saying if I agree with what was right. I'm just saying like they had a warrant for that one apartment.
The laws suck, and they're not fair, and they don't apply across the board. So are we really talking about fair? Is that the word that we're using, fair? And what's right and what's accurate?
I didn't say anything about fair. I just said I'm talking about the law. I'm talking about what's fair. I'm talking about the law.
It's such a crazy world that we live in. Like, it doesn't have to be right. Because look at slavery. Slavery wasn't right morally, but legally it was. It's fine. Yeah. It's crazy how the world in itself can be shaped by the lawmakers. And again, it doesn't have to make any sense at all. But when it comes to cops, I don't think we're throwing all the cops underneath the same umbrella. But we're looking at the system.
Well, it does make sense, like, because clearly the laws are there for a reason. You know what I mean? So it actually makes sense. It's like, you know, they're set up that way for a reason, to get a certain result and to eliminate other results. Like
feed the prison system?
Like to feed the prison system, to feed the prison industrial complex, to protect the people that are doing it. There's definitely a logic to why they have it this way. It's very well thought out.
And yeah. If you really think about it, it's well thought out. They literally have their asses covered. Think about when police officers are able to just lie. I mean, we've seen multiple cases, and cops are able to just make up shit. The exonerated 5, like cops, the whole system, they can just lie, and legally,
it's within the law.
It's like it's wrong, but we can do it because we set the laws. You and I, we can't lie in court because what is that? What's that phrase?
Contempt. Mm-hmm.
Contempt of court. Overall, we should be able to attack the police officers directly via lawsuit. Most people don't know you can't actually sue the insurance companies that insure those districts. People aren't aware of that. So that's not a method that most people use. But if they were to do that on a larger scale, I think we'd have a lot more change in the way officers apply themselves.
I was listening to this black cop that was talking about growing up, how he grew up and his father was basically a convict and, drug dealer, no low life, and it actually made him want to be, not that like that, so he basically ended up pursuing a career in law enforcement. He was talking about how he felt during the George Floyd situation, how much shame he felt to be a police officer, and he talked, how he kind of polices his community and how his first day as a rookie, they, all the complaints, he knew everybody, you know what I mean? So he was able to diffuse a lot of the calls in a nonviolent kind of de-escalate way, as you said, Neil. My main takeaway from his interview was, he says, we have all these people angry about the police, and he's like, we taking applications. We taking applications. So if you have a problem with the police force and you feel strong about it, maybe you should join the force and be the change that you want to see.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
That doesn't work.
Exactly. Wow. That's your takeaway? How fascinating. Give that man a medal.
That was a great PR tagline.
It's the people and individuals and humans that make up any system. So me saying that, what I mean is if you populate a system with people that do know better and do better, the system will behave better. Because no matter what's written down, people with a certain mindset are going to do what's right.
Snead, I know you got something to say. Go ahead.
And I don't think we can be seen and operate as human beings until everyone is viewed as such.
Right.
Let's not be so. I just want to say, I don't want us to get so caught up in ideological positions that we forget that we're all human beings here, and that human beings have eyes and brains and consciences and morals. And when you get enough right-thinking human beings in leadership, everybody not going to just follow the bullshit bottom line that's written on the wall or the code, the blue code of silence that's being spread. But
because you think that's going to change something? You think that black cops are going to be treated as equals as their white counterpart? Is that what you think?
That's a great way of getting more pawns into the system of oppression.
I mean, I don't really think it's a point. I mean, I think that's crazy. So do you think if I join the police force, that's going to change anything? Do you think that I'm going to be, wait a minute, Do you think that I'm going to be treated as my white counterparts equally? Do you think that just because I swear an oath and I get a badge and I get a gun, that makes the world a better place? And that's a step in the right direction?
So, Twaz, what do you think that the movement is doing? The movement, the initial point of the movement is to dismantle the system that you're speaking about.
I understand that, but once you dismantle any system, you still got to build it up. You still have to populate it. You still have to infuse it with new members, with a new attitude, with a new life. It still takes people and individuals to do that. So let's not get so caught up in ideology, and let's not forget that there actually needs to be people, boots on the ground, to actually initiate and enact and be enrolled in a force that's going to do justice.
Do you really believe that?
Yeah, but I think it needs to be dismantled first.
Well, if it doesn't get dismantled, it's going to have to be going to figure another way to dismantle it. Sometimes the best way to dismantle anything is just to rehire. I was always taught growing up, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for it. Okay. So that being said, let's not, like I say again, so easy get into this what can't happen, what won't happen, what will never happen. And let's also be able to get into a mindset and a position and a stance of what can happen and possibility and the potential and the power of possibility and imagining a possibility.
You know what? That's beautiful. That little quote is beautiful and poetic. But the reality is we stand, fall, we get shot, we get stomped, we get drugged in the street. So come on. We can't keep coming up with justifications of, oh, things will get better if we keep doing this. Things will be better if we change our mindset. Why do we need to keep changing?
But Twaz, you're speaking from the standpoint as if we, the civilians, are the problem. Like, I'm not once hearing you sit here and say, no, you're saying we want to change this.
All I'm saying is everybody that got problems.
Okay, let me talk, because you've had a lot to say. Let's give somebody else the floor for a second. I'm saying as a civilian, you want me to enlist or enroll in the police department to affect change. But where is your positioning on the police department needs to affect change on me? The police officers need to come into the communities of Black people, and they need to be more engaging. They need to get involved in organizations within the community to make sure that the community is thriving.
No, that's not the problem. We're the ones that can make a change. We're the solution.
Hold on. As opposed to policing the community and, fulfilling their quota to arrest us.
I'm saying we're the solution. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we're the solution.
Well, wait, we who? Black people? We?
Right. Your whole listening to your whole standpoint seems to be coming from a place of we are doing something incorrectly with our behavior, and that needs to be corrected in order for the police officers to be able to do their job better.
And I'm saying, you join the police force and make sure they do that.
Joining the police force being at the top of the list.
Well, I definitely think we need to widen our scope of what we can do and should do. I definitely think that. I think even us taking part in this podcast is part of us widening the potential and, like I said, the possibility and the ability of what we can do and will do. So, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to widen our scope. So all these things you say stuff about the police, consider joining the police. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but consider something else. Let's widen up the possibility of what we can do to change. Because the thing is, we have the same arguments of what's wrong, but what we're not widening is the arguments of what we can do. Because it's easy to run off a list of 10 things that's wrong, but we need to end that with, but what I'm going to do.
Yeah, but okay, wait. Let me bring it back for a second, because my man is really up here talking like, you're not saying anything about defunding the police. You're not saying anything about police reform. You're not saying anything about police oversight.
I'm saying all about police reform. I'm literally talking about reforming the police, reforming with people like you and me. That's how you would reform it, yes.
Okay, so I'm saying what I'm hearing.
Oh,
okay, maybe that God. Too.
Right, but you're saying by joining the police officers.
Please stop saying that.
That would be from the ground up, right? Working your way up, right? Okay. If more of us was in there with them, they probably have more support.
No, don't bother. Save your energy, your ink, your time, all that. Don't bother. I'm good.
Just imagine how good you look in the uniform.
I look damn good in the uniform. I served my time in the United States Army. I know how to rock a uniform, okay? But I'm good. Thank you.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we'll wrap up right now. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for this episode. And once again, I want to thank Twaz for rejoining us. I want to thank Boogs, my co-host, and of course, my other guest co-host, Snead, in here. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and like on various social media platforms. Check us out on YouTube, Anchor FM, Spotify, and iTunes as well. Once again, my name is Springle. This was another episode of Double Bind. Tune in next week for more heated debates. Talk to you guys later.